Meet George Jetson.
No, meet Boob Tube Boys, a TV show podcast hosted by three people. One of them is me, Brian Vaughn. Spencer Hendricks is one of them. Van Lee is the final one.
I'm here, and I've brought everything that the future is made out of. Tungsten! It's a tungsten kind of world.
Plastics! Wait, that's more 20th century.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this popped up on the Flintstones episode several weeks back. I asked what age we're in. You know, the Flintstones is Stone Age.
Mm-hmm.
We are apparently in the Information Age.
Oh, that's...
Are we staying there?
I don't know.
Is that our final?
I feel like it's about to burn down, and then we'll be back to the Stone Age.
That's fine.
What's that quote from Einstein or whatever? He's like, I don't know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Because he's saying we'll kill each other, and society won't exist.
Yeah. Well, I think that we, as a podcast, we're in our sleigh age.
Like from sloth to sleigh, or like Santa sleigh?
No, we're really coming into our own. That's because we're covering a very futuristic show today. It's called The Jetsons. I am talking about The Jetsons because Spencer gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Forced it upon you.
Forced it upon me violently.
It was a Hanna Barbera theme in my head, apparently, this whole time. Decided Van would do Flintstones, and then Brian would do Jetsons.
Yeah, we are beginning the second round of Boob Tube Hot Potato with The Jetsons. Real quick up top, we're covering Season 1, Episode 11, Visit for Grandpa. It's from December of 1962. So 61 years ago, essentially, as we record this.
A human being ago.
The Jetsons is the Flintstones.
Sure is.
Sure is. Sadly, I'm sad to report that.
Were you guys truly disappointed when you saw the Jetsons and it was just like the Flintstones? I was too.
You'd think after what happened with the Flintstones that we would have been like, but I didn't.
Mm-mm.
I really didn't. I thought maybe this one they hit on and it was just the Flintstones that was bad, but it's just apparently what Hanna Barbera did. So I've seen enough of Hanna Barbera at this point.
What about Mighty Mightor and Moby Dick? You haven't seen enough of that yet.
No.
Inch High Private Eye.
I don't know if you could see enough of that.
I'm a private dick and I'm little.
I don't know if you might miss him. You might not see him because he's so small.
Squish him.
I was actively angry and a pall came over me within 3 minutes of the first Jetsons episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was so frustrated. The same kind of humor, the same animation, the same soundtrack, everything.
Yeah, they just swapped the settings out, and gotta say, neither setting is enough to carry the show.
No, they didn't do anything with the settings.
Nope.
That's a problem. I guess a little more so.
I think they thought, like at that time period, that people were going to be really distracted by the idea of what crazy things could happen in the future, and that's it.
And then they're
carrying it off that entire premise there, and nothing else is
incredibly lazy in terms of what was passing for futuristic jokes in 1962.
It doesn't seem like they even tried. And they also made some interesting references that whenever the Jetsons does take place, they're not going to still be talking about.
I'm with you guys, though. I thought this would be maybe a corrective show to the Flintstones, more interesting, sharper writing.
Maybe a little better is all I really hoped.
Well, not at all. It's the same thing. And it was just a lazy retread of the Flintstones, which was a lazy retread of the Honeymooners that was animated.
There you go.
Yep. It's a traditionally structured family sitcom. It takes place in Orbit City, because orbit, space.
Got gum in it.
Mm-hmm. It's a sky town. It's the year 2062.
2062.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Also, you say sky town. Why? Is there rising water levels? What's the excuse here?
Well, no one in the Jetsons ever says, but I mean, this has to be a climate catastrophe, right?
You would think.
I mean, why would we be in the sky willingly? Or overlords took over down below.
Oh, so it's like barbarians and Mad Maxian down there in the desert.
Or some form of alien, like maybe the Independence Day ones.
Or the what's that movie where you can't make a sound and Jim from The Office is there? Those guys.
I know what you're talking about.
The Hearing movie.
Yeah, that's what it's called, too.
Quiet Place.
I will say, now that it's been so long since this show aired, at least this season, I think that it's funny how close we are to the time period they're covering. And
right.
I don't think it's going to look that way.
Well,
I'm speculating that.
I'm going to say that... Not even close. To your point, Spencer, we are 39 years away or something. Well, what year did I say? 2062? Yeah, 39 years away from the future the Jetsons present, whereas we are 61 years away from when the Jetsons actually aired, much closer to the future.
And I guess that just means that when they decided to make the show, they just said, let's set it 100 years in the future.
Sure.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That is exactly what they did. Well, it ran for 6 months, September to March, 62 to 63.
Good run.
Canceled. No one liked it.
Good
No one
riddance.
thought it was good. It eventually got dumped to Saturday mornings to appease dumb children, then was revived in the 80s and capped off with a 1990 TV movie. Kind of had ended. A lot of the cast was dead.
Okay, so here's the thing. Cass is dead, right? You got to get new voice actors.
Yeah.
So what do? You need a new Elroy? Dawes Butler's dead?
I have a suggestion.
Who's that?
Necromancer.
Nope, you get Patrick Zimmerman, who also voiced Revolver Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
the
yeah.
primary antagonist of Metal Gear Solid is Patrick Zimmerman, who voiced Elroy in the movie. It all ties together.
Really easily that time.
Mhm.
It's been a
I
long
didn't have to
time
work
since
for
we
it.
had one of those Van Lee Metal Gear Solid tie-ins.
Yeah, and this one he just went ahead and led with that. We're gonna open with it this time.
I liked it. Slay era.
I did watch that movie when it was on, like Cartoon Network or something. I've seen that Jetsons movie.
Did we happen to stumble upon how they decided to bring it back in the 80s?
Yeah,
what went
why?
on there?
Why did that happen?
Well, apparently sequels had started to take off with the advent of the blockbuster, which many credit to Jaws in 1975. And I don't know if this sounds familiar to either of you, but as early as this time, the 80s, studios were looking for properties to perhaps revive rather than creating a new thing.
Huh.
And so they looked to the gold mine of the Jetsons.
And they revived it, thinking it's the 80s, we'll actually do more with the future gimmick. And they did, allegedly. I've not watched any of these, I don't think.
And
but
maybe we should have picked one of those. I wanted the classic Jetsons.
yeah, I know. And I agree. I would have done exactly what you did to pair it with the Flintstones.
Well, now that you've seen it, you wouldn't have done that.
No, I would have personally
Not
found
selected it.
every physical copy, reel, whatever of the Jetsons and burned it is what I would have done. The 80s version had a synth soundtrack and
It's already better.
Yeah.
Just that
yeah,
part right there.
so there's an 80s degree to that, but I don't know, 80s space cheese works better for me than the 60s version where, well, I mean, they didn't have a clue.
And the marriage dynamic is exactly the same as the 1960s. And
Yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like that.
couldn't they have been taking a chance or been imaginative in any way beyond like, let's just do a sitcom that we would do at this time period, except say it's a different setting and draw it. That's it.
And all of the music, all of the kind of like the way everything looks and feels, the language, the speech patterns, it's all the American 1950s and 60s. It's just like the Flintstones. This is so incongruous with what it should be, or I'm not saying should, what it could be. It could be funny. It isn't.
It was just not imaginative at
That's
all.
exactly right.
Television seems to have had to play things so safe at this time period that it all sucked horribly when you look at it from the modern lens.
Is this a boomer's dream, though? To forever live in the sky with no close by neighbors, talking and acting like it's the 50s. So I can kind of see why they wrote this. The Jetsons also does share cast with the Flintstones. Not surprising there, Hanna Barbera and all. Jean Vanderpyle, who played Wilma in the Flintstones, is actually Rosie, the maid we don't see.
And Rosie's a robot, isn't she?
A big square robot. She does appear in our end credit sequence.
That's right.
I would imagine you both might have rushed to turn off before watching.
I let it all play, but I was there in body, but I was not there in spirit.
No,
by the
your
end of
spirit
that.
had died long ago.
It escaped the second this episode started in both cases.
And Rosie has a sexy French maid outfit on.
Mm.
No reaction to that.
I didn't know how to react.
I was trying to see how I felt about that statement, and sure.
Adequate.
I guess it's a robot. You can do whatever you want.
You can dress that bitch up however you want.
Just don't get any wires crossed.
Sex dolls are weird nowadays. Have you seen like the realistic ones?
Yeah, I believe they have people ones in Japan, essentially, that walk around and divorce you or something.
Well, I mean, as far as the crazy leaps that AI has made, I have no doubt that technology and the direction they'll go with something like that is going to be crazy real soon.
It'll be no time before people will, like, I guess, be able to interface with the sex robot in a way that might become frightening for both their emotional and physical well-being, depending on how strong the robot is.
So you're saying someone gets crushed at some point too?
Yeah, like what if the robot's mad or a sexual game goes awry with the robot?
We've all seen the Terminator.
And this doesn't ever happen in the Jetsons, the scenario that I just proposed.
It should have. They should have taken some chances and done some plots like that. I have suggestions on both these episodes on some things that
That's great.
they could have done that would have made it watchable at all.
We
like
should,
in any element.
when we kind of recap our thoughts on the episode,
Yeah.
you should bring those up.
I'm going to toss it to you guys to have a couple things, and I've just got anything at all they would have done but what they did.
Because mostly I'll just be saying bad. Bad, don't like it. Another...
In some cases, incomplete. Like the episode with the grandpa, what was that about? What lesson did we learn? What lesson did anyone learn?
We're about to tell everyone all about Visit for Grandpa. But another one of the cast members, Mel Blanc, of course, famous in the animation world, he has a ton of roles on the show, but I just wanted to single him out for another character we don't see. It's George's boss, Cosmo Spacely, who is 1 foot tall and round.
Little guy, he's got a little mustache, and he's mean, and he's rich.
That's the gist with him. He owns Spacely Sprockets or whatever, which is where George works.
What is a sprocket defined? I just think
I've only
like
heard
a cog.
I've only heard it in the band name. I don't know anything about what a sprocket is.
I think they're supposed to be kind of wet, right? And then
there's a toad.
Yeah, and there's a toad.
Oh, I think it's a frog. Frog the wet sprocket. That just doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't.
They probably workshopped that one, and they just didn't get good responses. I'm not going to listen to that.
Frog the Dry Sprocket was actually a competing band. Things didn't work out for them.
They were crushed by those sex robots.
Before we talk about the grandpa episode in question, I think we would be remiss if we did not address an absence across the 2 Jetsons episodes we'll be discussing, and that is of a character that for some reason we've been discussing on Boob Tube Boys a lot.
We've had 4 episodes of 2 shows that had this character, and 0 of them had him in it.
Yeah, and also I think we talked about him on shows that had nothing to do with him.
Well, I brought him up before we even knew we were doing the Flintstones.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah, because the kid from Growing Pains looks like the Great Kazoo.
Yeah, and I had to bite my tongue that whole time because I'm thinking like, oh man, he just mentioned the show he's going to be covering.
Well, yeah, the Great Kazoo. We don't see him. Well, guess what? It's time to talk about him. We've got to, right?
Sure.
He's sort of part of
Why
our
not?
show's history, even though he's never appeared in anything we've covered.
I guess probably won't either at this point.
He calls Fred dum-dum.
I thought he hated the past or something. Well, it turns out, no, he was exiled to Earth because he created a doomsday device on his home planet.
That makes sense.
And while he's on Earth, he has basically any power like some sort of god.
Couldn't he just then create his own doomsday device there?
Well, he probably didn't want to destroy Earth. Like, he's probably
You don't know
mad
that.
at his home planet for sending him away.
Which is what, again?
Oh, I don't know.
You said it the other time.
Yeah, I
but
did.
don't
I
remember.
did find that out at one point.
Zeox, let's go with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, whoever wrote the Wikipedia entry on the Great Kazoo describes him as, I can't do better than this, so I just said this, a tiny green floating scientist.
Okay, sure.
That's what he is. He was originally named Professor Og.
That seems like a caveman character.
It
though.
does.
Huh.
It does. But then they, of course, changed to the Great Kazoo. He can only be seen, or is only seen, by Fred, Barney, and child characters, and never appeared in the Jetsons.
He didn't?
No, this is a real, one of those dumb Berenstain Bears things.
Yeah, Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could have sworn he was in this.
Me too.
Huh.
He seems very fit for it.
Have you seen those little bouncy, cutesy things from the Jetsons? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They've got like spring arms or something.
They're probably called, like, porgs.
Quippers or something.
Wait, nope, that's definitely
Oh,
Star Wars.
That was taken. Yeah, they were kind of weird, but that's not the Great Kazoo.
No.
Hmm.
So the Great Kazoo, we know a little more about him now, but we haven't really seen him.
Does it make sense that you didn't see him in the Jetsons since he wasn't in the Jetsons?
Mm-hmm. It's starting to add up now.
So wait, that character was created specifically for the Caveman show?
Yes.
Huh. Well,
Why?
All right.
It's not exactly what I would call a logical decision or a good one, but we don't do a lot of that when
Well,
we're covering these 2 shows.
That is a show that has a character named Baby Puss. We do see a few characters. I'm just going to really lightly touch on the Jetson family, the main characters in the show. We've got George, who's voiced by George O'Hanlon. He's the patriarch. He's like a little bit of a slimmer, more red-haired Fred Flintstone, basically.
Maybe a little less angry, but just as dumb.
Yeah, he has a very flared collar. Collars are a big part of future fashion, as we're going to find out. Elroy gets second billing in the title sequence for some reason. He's voiced by Dawes Butler. He looks like that Jeffy kid from Family Circus. He's a little tiny boy with overalls.
The voice is bizarre. I can't imitate it. It's whatever voice Dawes Butler has, the man himself. He puts it in all his characters, and it's weird.
Who
It's
else
just
did
a bizarre
Eddie
voice. Others.
Freddy Krueger.
He has voiced a bunch. He's a well-known voice actor, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Probably somebody in Captain Caveman. Who
He might have
knows?
been Captain Caveman.
No,
I
that was
can't.
Mel Blanc.
Yeah, that's right. More like Mel Blanc with that club is what he's going to do with
But
it.
it's not as good as Mighty Mightor's club, which shoots fireballs out of it.
Or Captain Caveman.
That's who we were just talking about.
Whatever. Judy is played by Janet Waldo. Where is she? On the Jetsons. She's got white hair. She'll show you her midriff.
Did you know that Waldo's arch nemesis is Oddlaw? Because it's Waldo backwards, and he has black and yellow.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
And then there's
either.
Wizard Whitebeard.
Okay, so he's the biggest villain for Waldo.
Yeah.
Is he really conspicuous? Can you easily spot him? Because he's going for the opposite of Waldo, I'm assuming.
More than Waldo, because Waldo, everything else is red and white, but then Oddlaw, black and yellow. So
Did you
he's easier to
guys
spot.
did you guys actually ever kind of get into the Where's
Yes.
Waldo stuff?
Fucking loved
Did
him.
you find him pretty well?
Mhm.
Were you like, yeah, there he is, I see him.
Well, if you remember the first couple of books were
Red, green, colorblind.
Yeah, you would struggle with it. The first couple of books were too easy. It was full body Waldo. And then the author or whatever decides, fuck these kids. And they become these obscenely elaborate pictures with only Waldo's like head. And it was really hard to find him. But I didn't want to cheat because you go to the back of the book, tells you where he is. I couldn't do it.
I'm glad you didn't. But Van, you said a phrase there that I think you might consider for next season's creepypastas that we write, which is full body Waldo.
Those and the Magic Eye books were super big when we were kids.
Yeah.
I can't now, even to this day, because I worked at a library like 10 years ago in my late 20s and tried the Magic Eye books. I thought, okay, I can do this now. Can't do it.
Took me
Couldn't
years
then,
to do it.
can't now, don't know what I'm doing wrong or what's wrong with me.
If it involves sight, can't do it.
Yeah, the color thing probably messed with you a bit. I finally, towards the end of their popularity, was able to do those, and it hurts my eyes to do. I don't think I could do it anymore.
You have
but
to zone
I'd
out
be
pretty
curious.
hard, right?
Mhm.
And then-
You have to focus on a spot and then put the picture in front of you, still trying to focus on the spot, and then it'll be a helicopter or whatever.
You said you figured it out near the end of their popularity. I like to imagine you ran to class that morning like, you guys,
Look what I
figured out the
did.
Magic Eye. And they're like, the what? We're playing Pogs, asshole. They just completely moved on at recess.
That's my childhood, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everything takes place at recess. That's all I'm saying. It's one of the theses that I present as
Like the
a host
kids
of this show.
the Kids City Hall. That's where everything goes down.
Court is held. The final cast member or main cast member is the character of Jane. That is George's wife, voiced by Penny Singleton. She has a triangle for a collar, and in the intro to the show, she steals George's wallet. So
Tries to give her $1 and she takes the wallet instead.
just upholding the 50s, 60s sort of coupledom sensibility, again, which supposedly, I guess they thought would last into 2060, even though, like, did they not read the writing on the wall whatsoever about, like, civil rights being something that people wanted and in the 1960s?
I mean, 60s, you would think they could take a little bit of foresight at all.
They obviously
they
didn't
don't.
want to be any kind of controversial
Right.
at all by supporting
No.
anything that was up and coming.
And related to that, in the 60s, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. was giving a lot of rousing speeches, the civil rights movement in full swing. Well, you're not going to see a character that isn't white in the Jetsons, but it's supposed to be the future. Little weird, but I mean, the show wasn't aiming for any sort of future accuracy. It was aiming for making money, I would assume.
In the easiest, lowest effort possible way.
And it didn't even really manage to do that.
Women be shopping.
I think we've talked enough about the background with the Jetsons. It's not interesting at all, really.
Yeah, and we did a lot of the Hanna Barbera stuff in the Flintstones.
We did. So
Oh, that's weird. Why don't we do some more Hanna-Barbera stuff? Because I, in fact, have more Hanna-Barbera nonsense.
hell yeah. How tall are any of these people? Are they all above an inch?
Some are. I won't say they all are, but some are. No, I've done the exact same thing I did for my Flintstones episodes. I'm going to commandeer the episode briefly and ask you boys.
This is like a
team up.
stay of execution.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
All right. You guys team up, figure out, is this a real or fake Jetsons episode? I have a couple here for you. First off, we have one titled The One Who Rose. And I did take these from all the seasons, the 80s, the 60s.
Sure.
Mhm.
So there's both eras. And I rewrote their descriptions to fit my parlance as well.
The One Who Rose sounds like an Easter episode.
Well, we'll find out. After an accident at Spacely Sprockets leaves George stuck in a cave for 3 days, just as the excavation crew finally frees him, he finds a way out the back unbeknownst to everyone waiting for his release. When he appears back at the house, people in town start to treat him like a new god. Drunk with power and in a moment of weakness, George has his cult execute Judy as a sacrifice to their new space god. Eventually, George yearns for everything to go back to the way it was, but he's already gone too far. The episode ends with George weeping by himself in a massive religious compound as the feds close with their weapons drawn.
I'm going to call bullshit right
Doesn't
away.
sound like...
No caves in sky.
Oh, shit.
I was really hoping that was some kind of play on the character Rose, too, when you said that, the one
yeah.
Rose. I
Rosie.
thought she was somehow involved in that.
I should have done that. No, I made that one. Good job. Let's see if I made this.
Other than that thing I mentioned, though,
The cave thing. Mhm.
couldn't tell if that was real or fake.
Came plausible.
What about High Moon? George is fed up with his son Elroy's fixation with a television star named Roger Mars, so he decides to take the family on a road trip to rediscover the roots of the Old West. This ends up leading George into a showdown with the outlaw Bad Bart Blaster.
I think this
It could
is
totally be
real.
real, yeah. I don't see anything in that falls in the outlandish
That
category.
first name of what was the first name? Like Elmer Mars?
Roger Mars.
Yeah, that's so Jetsons.
It sounds Jetsons.
Okay, so we're going real on that one?
We're going real.
That is real. That is a real episode. Yeah, if I would have done that, maybe I could have done Bad Bart Blaster, but I would have been more creative with Roger Mars.
You would have said Perry Saturn.
If you had made that up, that would have been an excellent job of camouflaging it to be
True.
a a Jetson sounding thing.
Oh, yeah. Who's going to call somebody out for saying the wrong name of a show now, huh?
Well, I mean, you called the Flintstones the Simpsons like 10 times.
The more family surname show titles we do, this is going to get so confusing.
Yeah.
We also have the Waltons out there.
True. It's only going to get worse. Let's see if The Vacation, whether or not you guys think that's a real episode. When Jane wins a family weekend trip on the Love Rocket, she and George find that their vacation isn't all it's cracked up to be, as they must both deal with old flames from their high school days, with Jane running into her boyfriend, Blinky Sunspot, and George running into his cheerleader ex-girlfriend, Sally Spaceout.
I think it's
I do. I agree.
I think it's such the plot is such a sitcom plot. Are we going real?
Yep.
Yeah.
Going real on that. That is, in fact, real. Good job with that one. Although I did like, what was it, Blinky Sunspot? That's pretty good.
At that juncture, I briefly thought this was you.
Yeah, at the beginning it could have been. Now I'm already telling you, I know what they did with that episode. Would have liked it if one of them actually was like, I think this is the one that got away. I'm gonna get divorced
Yeah.
and I'm gonna leave for this person, for Blinky Sunspot.
And then George is like, you can have Elroy, Jane. I'll take Judy. Judy and Jane, I'm going to have trouble not saying the inverse
Well, and they're
name.
also the same age, the way they were drawn, so it's kind of
Yeah.
understandable. Whereas Elroy looks about 4, and the daughter, Judy? Daughter
Maybe
Judy,
16 or
because
something.
of the
The
song, I
song.
remembered her name. Yeah, she looks 28, and the boy looks 4.
Elroy looks like David the Gnome or something. He's too small.
I don't like that his shoes are the same color as the little overalls, so it looks like a onesie.
Maybe it is.
Could be. All right, is this a real episode of the Jetsons, our last one of the episodes? To Wish is what it's called. While playing in the park, Elroy stumbles across a lamp, and when he rubs it to clean it off, a powerful genie is freed. The only problem is all the wishes backfire. Judy won't leave him alone about the lamp, so Elroy wishes for his sister to leave him alone, so the genie buries her in a coffin 6 feet underground. George comes home after a hard day of work and tells his son he doesn't have the energy to play with him, so the boy wishes his dad never had to work again. The genie responds by detonating a series of explosive charges at Spacely Sprockets, killing hundreds of factory workers in the process. Now that the patriarch doesn't have a job, the Jetson family fall into tough times and lose their house, car, and Elroy is taken away from George and Jane by SCPS, that's Space Child Protection Services.
Oh, that sounds like what they would call it in the
Mm.
show.
Feeling like she has failed her family, Jane hangs herself and is found by George the following morning. This causes him to start drinking heavily. Finally, with his last
What
wish,
was he drinking? Do you know?
space bourbon.
Okay. Checks out.
Finally, with his last wish, Elroy wishes for everything to go back to the way it was. With one final twist, the genie snaps his fingers, and suddenly the Earth is rocketed back in time 4.5 billion years ago to the time of its formation. The show ends with the empty, atmosphereless, silent, rocky planet in the background as the credits roll. Real or fake?
The way we were, I don't want to speak out of class here or
Uh-huh.
whatever, out of turn, but I think I speak for both Spencer and myself when I say Not real.
Not real. That's correct. All right. So that's all the Jetson ones, but I do have a few other things here for you before our lightning round. We have real or fake Hanna Barbera cartoons.
Okay.
We also did this previously.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite one of these because this could be anything. It's impossible to say what they were or were not trying.
Pretty much everything that involved thing, weird creature, ghost hunt.
And like maybe if they had somebody on acid who had written a song about an animal already, you just try to turn that into a character.
All right. Is The Perils of Penelope Pitstop a real Hanna-Barbera show? It is a spinoff of Wacky Races. By the way, it is Wacky Races, not Racers.
Glad that's cleared up. And I do remember her from that. So I know this character is real.
Well, it's a spinoff of that show. Penelope Pitstop is a talented race driver whose guardians, a group of short mobsters called the Ant Hill Mob, try to protect her from the dastardly Hooded Claw, a sadistic villain, after her vast fortune, who is also known as Sylvester Sneakley.
The Ant Hill Mob, those guys are more little shorties. Just like Inch High Private Eye. This is real,
Sounds
right?
real.
Yeah.
You remember the Ant Hill Mob? Because I do.
No, I really don't.
Think of those like Looney Tunes mobsters whose eyes are scared and they're like, what are you doing?
Is that who that is?
That's kind of what they look like, yeah. What about this next one? The Bears of Hee-Yaw Valley. I didn't even say what it was yet.
I don't care. I've already... What is Hee-Yaw Valley?
Hee-Yaw Valley. It's hyphenated. A family of hillbilly bears known as the Chomper Clan have their lives turned upside down when a family of raccoons from the big city move in next door. It's a clash of both class and critter as the Chompers try to keep pace with their new neighbors while pining for the old ways of life. Characters include Papa Snarls Chomper, Mama Daisy Chomper, son Chevy Chomper, daughter Earlene Chomper, and then the neighbor family, the Skyscrapers, including Dash, Subway, and Garbage Skyscraper. Again, they're raccoons. Real or fake?
No, I don't think so.
Brian?
I'm going to agree with Spencer on this. What I like about this is that it would be concurrent probably with whatever the Country Bears was.
It's also the Berenstain Bears. That's apparently their whole story. They're
Bears were
bears.
a big deal.
Okay, yeah, that one's fake. What about Korg 70,000 BC? That's Korg, 70,000 BC.
Okay.
Featuring a family of Neanderthals living during the Ice Age and based on then current research about Neanderthal life. Characters include Korg, Bach, Mara, Tane, Tor, and Ree, featuring narration by Burgess Meredith.
This could go either way for me.
I'm kind of stumped. I'm leaning towards it's real.
I'm going to defer to you because, I don't know.
You going real on that one?
Burgess Meredith is a guy you would say, but I think real.
All right, well, that is in fact real. And it is also one of the few, maybe the only Hanna-Barbera live-action show.
Wow.
Yeah, blew my mind.
I bet it looked like shit.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I didn't look at anything else up other than that, but maybe we'll cover it someday.
Oh, I hope not.
All right, what about...
I hope we don't touch Hanna-Barbera again
I've
at
had
this
enough.
point.
What about The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan? Legendary Chinese sleuth Charlie Chan is assisted by his 10 children and their dog Choo Choo
I don't like this.
while solving mysteries and catching criminals. The family travels around the world in their vehicle, the Chan Van, which was built by teenage genius Alan Chan. The children have their own musical group called the Chan Clan, and they have their hit song, I'm the number one son of the number one man.
I think that's real. I don't
I don't know.
I don't know
really
either,
don't.
but it's so...
I picked the last one, so if you want to go real, let's do it.
Let's go real.
That is, in fact, real.
Oh.
And it's precisely what you think it would look like. And wow. It was panned, by the way, when it came out in the 80s.
Oh, no one thought that was good. In the 80s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that.
All right, lightning round. This is just like the last lightning round. These are real or fake Hanna-Barbera characters. They don't have a whole show around them, maybe from a different show. We'll see what you say. Is this a real Hanna-Barbera character? Mr. Socrates.
Sure.
We're going, yes, that's real. That's correct.
Oh, yeah. You better not fire back Mr. Plato.
What about the Goopy Gator? Is that a real or a fake Hanna-Barbera character?
There's been so many gators already, I feel like.
You think they've had too many?
I think so. I say fake.
We're going fake on Goopy Gator. That is fake. Good job. I came up with that one. What about Yacky Doodle? Not Yankee, Yacky Doodle.
I feel like that could be.
Is it like a patriotic yak? That'd be awesome. Are you going to go real?
Sure.
Okay.
That is real. It is a little like yellow bird, like a Tweety type bird.
Oh.
And he talks with like Donald Duck, but high pitched. It's real weird.
I think the thing I said is better.
What about Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har? Those are two characters, Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har.
And they're paired together.
Yeah, they're in the same show.
I imagine they're a real dynamic duo. Is that real?
I feel like it could be. I'm going to say yes.
Going with that? All right, that is in fact real. I don't know. I can assume Lippy is a lion based on the name. I don't know what Hardy Har Har is.
He's a comedian, probably. A tiny comedian.
Howie Mandel.
Every third character, make him tiny.
Make him little.
I don't know. What's his hook, though? Too small.
Hanna Barbera. What about Ding-a-ling Wolf?
No, that can't be.
I'll go along with it and say no.
That is a real character
Wow.
on Huckleberry Hound.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Ding-a-ling Wolf.
I mean, I don't know that character, but that show.
Well, don't forget there was Mildew Wolf last time as well. A lot of wolves. This one's Ding-a-ling Wolf. He's
The
got
wolf-
a dick out.
He can't. Oh, I thought it was maybe a wolf that couldn't get its shit together, but
Oh.
you're saying it's a wolf that is exposing itself.
Yeah, it's just out at all times. What about this next character? Is it a real or fake Hanna Barbera character? Praetor Artanis.
No.
You going no, Spencer?
Sure.
You going no on that one then?
Yeah.
That is no. That's from StarCraft. It's not a real one.
I didn't know what it was, but it sounded weird. If you had said it's like a guy who dies in The Force Awakens in the background, I would believe
You'd
you.
be like, okay, that's it. What about the Great Haji, master of all genies?
That is real. I know that that's real.
Okay.
And it is upsetting.
Now you're
I think.
confident.
I think you're thinking of Haji
from Johnny
Johnny
Quest.
Quest.
Never mind. I retract my vote before it gets counted at the vote factory.
Okay, so what about your vote? Well, what are we saying? Fake or real?
I don't
What?
know.
Say it again.
The Great Haji, master of all genies.
Master of all genies.
That's his title. Not just a regular genie. He's the
So
master
he's been
of genies.
promoted a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I would lean towards no then,
Okay, yeah.
with information given to us there.
Since this is not about Johnny Quest, we'll say no.
Okay, that is in fact real.
Oh,
But I did say that thing because that's the same thing I thought was what Haji's, because that's Johnny Quest, that's Hanna Barbera. They just reuse the name.
Yeah.
They're like, Indian character? Fine, Haji.
We can't be bothered to find another name.
Oh, yeah, and the show he's on was something called Genie, and not G-E-N-I-E, Jeannie, like I Dream of Genie,
Oh,
that
yeah.
Genie.
But not that show?
But not that show, no.
Okay.
What about Rangerfield? Is that a real one or fake one?
it's so stupid. that
Rangerfield.
I don't think they would do that. I know they're all stupid, but
I know it feels like by saying this that he can't get no respect, but I'm going to say fake also.
Is in fact real.
Why?
That is-
Ranger.
It's on the Quickie Koala show.
Wow.
Does it have anything to do with Rodney Dangerfield?
I don't know. I didn't look it up.
What about Rodney Doggerfield or whatever? Ranger.
Yeah, it
You
was
know what
that
I'm talking
cartoon
about?
movie
Yeah.
where he was like, I can't get no respect even though I'm a dog.
Can you imagine there being a celebrity like that now?
Do you know what happened in that movie? The dog cartoon
No.
movie?
I definitely don't and won't find out.
I
unless you
watched
tell
it.
me.
I loved it when I was a kid.
Really?
He's just somebody lady's dog, and he's sassy, and he has a tie and droopy eyes because he's Rodney Dangerfield, Rodney
Yeah.
Doggerfield, whatever. So anyway, lady gets a new boyfriend who's abusive, who doesn't like the dog. So he puts the dog in a burlap sack and throws it in the river.
Oh my God.
But he gets out, and I think he goes to a farm and fish out of water, but eventually gets back with the woman who now has gotten away from the abusive guy.
He probably still, even playing a dog, finds a way to make like an alimony joke.
Rover Dangerfield.
Rover
I think
Dangerfield.
that's it. Huh. Okay, a couple more. Dr. Viper. Real or fake?
That is so cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say the idea is phenomenal.
I want him to be real. Is he? He's not though.
That's too cool.
too cool.
He's real. He's on
Whoa.
SWAT Cats, the Radical
All
Squadron.
right, well, I take everything I said about Hanna-Barbera back.
SWAT cats. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, we should have.
Maybe some of them are incredible, and then this was
Could be.
just the low end of their efforts, and then the rest of them they were just nailing.
What about Pumpkin Puss?
They did have the character named Baby Puss or whatever it was.
But this is Pumpkin Puss.
So I believe it could be real. I'm going to say this is real.
I am too. I don't think you'd say that out loud for fun.
Yeah, you wouldn't have created that yourself.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's real. That's on Magilla Gorilla. You know,
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
gorilla.
And they all, half the characters talked like that.
That's right. I live in this toy store.
And then a bunch of them talked like this too, because they were all played by Paul Lind.
Or then there's Huckleberry Hound. Come on, kitty. I hate that voice. Count Mustard. Is that real or fake?
That's got to be fake. I mean,
It seems like it.
there's Colonel Mustard.
You like to put mustard in things, so I feel like that's not real.
I like to put it on things.
That is fake. You're correct. And then finally, mush mouse. It's all one word, mush mouse.
I like it.
Smashed up mouse.
I like it. I don't think so, though.
I know.
That's real. That's on McGillic
Whoa.
Gorilla as well.
Is it
Mush
dead?
mouse.
I don't know. It's just mush mouse.
Huh.
Okay, there you go.
Well, I feel like we're experts on Hanna Barbera now, against our will to some degree. This part was fun. The thing we're about to do, well, we're going to have fun with it, but watching the Jetsons was a real slog.
I don't know what you're talking about. I loved it. It was great.
25
enjoyable.
minutes too, and it felt like an hour.
Yeah.
It felt like I was looking forward to it being a nice, succinct 22 minutes with like a minute credits on both sides, so only 20 minutes of content. But they just dug in. They're like, "We're taking your soul for 25 whole minutes."
I did go in with a sense of dread after the Flintstones episodes were 25.
Yeah.
Thinking like, well, that's what I was honestly just crossing my fingers they weren't like 37 or something.
That would have been impossible. I don't think they had the content for that.
And I would have died by the end of the first one.
I wonder why at that time period they didn't have to give as much of their little slots on TV to commercial breaks as they do now.
I wonder if it's a thing where like the 22 minutes is scientifically proven to be the appropriate amount, although any more and people would tune out, any less and blah, blah, blah. I wonder if that's it.
That the maximum amount allowable they're going to do. I mean, from the inception of TV, they've thought of it as an ads first medium. Gross. Speaking of gross, Jetsons, here's the theme song.
Sucks.
It sounds like the Flintstones song.
I kept expecting the Yabba Dabba Doo to come in just because there's a part in this theme song that sounds just like where the Flintstones part happens. Where it says
If George Jetson were to yell spacey, spacey, space, it would make sense. The little sequence is just us drawing back from a resource-drained Earth. We see the cosmos, we see the Jetsons as they go about their day in their air car. I don't want to talk about it anymore. The episode begins, and we see a happy little mysterious driver. He's singing to himself nonstop, things like zippity doopity doppity. He's going to be doing that a lot throughout the episode. And he's doing loop-de-loops in the air, just cruising, just crushing the speed limit.
Rip-assing through town.
which was a huge gag in this, what the speed limit was. That was something they were expecting was going to be really comedic.
It is one of their better jokes, somehow. Well, a space cop, as Spencer's alluding to, pulls out from behind a billboard, and he says, "Listen, kid, you're going 2,800 and a 2,200. Like you're in some sort of space circus." But then the driver turns out to be just a little old man.
What if it's like not even kilometers, it's some new metric, and so really he was going like 20 miles an hour, which is too fast.
Yeah, like air knots or something.
That's what happens in Speed 4 Sky Boat Patrol.
Speed 4 Millennium Falcon.
Wait, have they made a third one yet?
I was going to say, you could probably have convinced me there was a Speed 4, and I would have been like, yeah, I'm sure there was. I didn't think they
Speed 3
stopped.
was just called Threed, I think.
And Speed 2 had Willem Dafoe as a crazy leeching villain, which I think might redeem it a little bit.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I've never seen the second one.
I mean, look, Keanu Reeves said, "I'm out" on Speed 2.
And so
that
like,
tells you
that's
something.
fine. We'll get Denzel Washington to do this one.
Is he in the second
No.
one?
No.
Okay,
no,
I was briefly...
The thought process would be great, though. It's like Keanu Reeves is like, I don't think so. So Denzel Washington's like, yeah. I'll do it
I'm
then.
in.
And then Tom Hanks is like, no, fuck no, I want it.
Well, I'll have to stop my Polar Express filming real fast and do Speed 3 instead.
Wasn't that like CGI?
Yeah, like before they really knew how to do that.
Like that Beowulf movie with Angelina Jolie.
Same director, those two movies.
Really?
Robert Zemeckis, yeah. And
Zemeckis did those
yeah.
too? Huh.
He was very trying to be a forerunner, but instead made his movies look like shit.
Yeah, they didn't look good.
Which I think is the opposite of what he wanted. I think he wanted them to look cool and not frightening. Especially Polar Express for children. And everything looked melty.
Yeah, that's the scariest I've ever seen Tom Hanks look. And he's not supposed to be.
Like his Road to Perdition character, I'm like, I'd hug this guy, but get me away from that Polar Express monstrosity.
But what about Chet Hanks? Is that the bad one?
That's the bad one. Colin is the good, wholesome one that
okay.
was in Fargo. I guess we'll talk about the Jetsons and not all this better stuff for a moment. The little old man that got pulled over, he says, "I left my license back home. I'm on the way to visit my grandson, George, and his family." So we find out right away this is a Jetson. He says his name is Montague, and he's a spry 110 years old. Keeps calling the cop Sonny. Really wants to hang upside down. That's a big priority of Montague. Let all the blood drain to his skull before he dies.
So he stays so youthful at his 110 years old. Have you guys tried that?
Not yet. I really haven't found a good way to hang myself upside down yet. I guess I need an air car.
I've been looking at bats, and I see how they do it, and I think
Why
maybe I
bats
could
are
do
all
that.
110 years old.
Correct.
Get
Yep.
you a bat that can do both, that you can hang upside down from, and that can also poop on a stalagmite.
I'm going to tell you something you guys don't know. A bat can eat up to a pound of mosquitoes a day.
If you go to boottuing.com, you will see that it was me who came
Yeah.
up with that fact originally,
Mm-hmm.
and then Van just stole it right now.
Do you know
Yeah.
bats have pretty good vision? It's not that bad.
There's actually inter-podcast litigation going on about the bat fact right now, and
We're
who
not allowed to
initially
talk about
presented it.
No.
I am. I can say anything I want. I'm exempt from all of this. The lawyers told me.
Matlock knows nothing. Like we could get Matlock as our lawyer.
If I told him I watched every episode of
Yeah,
the
he could
show,
do it pro bono.
Yeah.
He's not
and he
getting
does
paid.
that every now and then. Well, this cop, he's really annoyed that Montague is driving 2,800 miles an hour and being feisty, but he kind of starts to take a liking to him anyway, lets him go and says, it's almost like you're 75, you're so youthful.
Great joke. The cop might be the most likable character in this episode,
Yeah.
actually, because he is nice.
First time I've probably ever said that about a show.
With the exception that basically this boils down to, oh, you're driving without a license and also dangerously fast, and you're being obnoxious to me. I can see that you're white, though, so you can get away with it. No big deal.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're all white. It's some sort of hellscape in the
You mean
future.
utopia?
That is what Hanna and Barbera both thought, I guess. Montague, he keeps driving, zippity-doo, making his little noises when he runs into a very strong woman whose vehicle is stalled out in the middle of the sky. Montague says, I can help you because I can do anything. He digs around in the car and pulls out a bird. I wanted the bird to say a catchphrase, and it did not.
I wanted it to be a Flintstones bird, man.
Yeah.
It's a living, I wreck
Yeah.
cars, whatever. But he didn't.
Man, talk about a beat capacitor. Some stupid joke like that. Well, this woman is grateful. She uses her very full voice to introduce herself as Emily Scope. We'll hear that voice later, don't worry.
I mean, I took one fucking look at this lady and you went, okay, I know what this voice is.
Yeah, it's the
'Cause
it's the right pairing.
just that voice, I can't even do it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, Mr. Montague.
Yeah, Will.
Oh.
Yeah, the Queen's respite. Well, the two part ways after a little bit of flirting to where you start wondering where this episode might head. Hey guys, I hate the Jetsons.
Me too.
How about that?
I'd rather take a break. Five minutes in, we meet the Jetsons, as the theme song told us that we would. George is messing with this rocking chair that he is putting together for Grandpa, because Grandpa's so old, he can't do anything. Elroy, he's by the floor helping. He's like 2 inches high, as I keep saying. Why do we still have cords and plugs in the future?
That's the thing. The people in the 60s couldn't even be creative enough to fathom that cords wouldn't exist.
Nobody even had the balls to think that way back then. They were like, well, obviously, we're always going to need cords.
The best part about this to me is the future of chairs that could do things like this rocking chair, which is the Jetsons plug it into the wall and it vibrates and massages you or bucks you off it like a Bronco. That's what it does because this is a stupid animated comedy show. But the actual chair like that would exist would be just like the chairs they had back then. It would just be freestanding. They didn't actually have to do anything here. Chairs are the same.
Chair technology is the same.
It's mostly stood still over time. Not a lot of advancement in that particular sector, I guess, of technology.
Do you think there was a period of time right before chairs were invented where there were like a couple designs and like they didn't take off, but then the chair design really did? Like there was like really weirdly made chairs. Yeah. And some caveman scientist is like, look how good this is. And everyone's like, I mean, it could be better. And then somebody invents the chair. The guy's a fucking rock star.
Man, and then we started to invent the chair, and at first it was like we couldn't figure out the surface area. It kept going up my ass. So then we figured out, what if we made it big enough to put your whole butt on?
I feel like at first it was just a big rock was the first chair, and cavemen found that. And then at some point they were like, I kind of like something behind me. Like maybe a guy sat in a rock next to a tree and was like, this is awesome. There's something in the back that I can just kind of relax in. And then, God knows, probably like 3 million years later, someone was like, I want some arms on this thing. And that's it.
It probably took 1,000 years between what you just said and someone actually making a chair from realizing they like
too bad we only have the rocks, though. We can't really do anything about that. Well,
I don't know. I guess I'll die.
I think it was Jesus who made the first chair. He
Oh,
was
the
the
carpenter.
carpenter, and he built that thing, and he was like, look at this.
And then he turned one into a whole outlet store.
And I think, and he made so many chairs, we're still using those chairs today.
Thank the Lord for our chairs.
There was a very brief history of chairs for the Boob Tube Boys podcast.
The Assyrians famously didn't know what a chair could be, so that's why their society fell. Cyrus the Great conquered them because they didn't have chairs.
Along with their bodies, since they had nothing to sit on.
Well, this future chair that you plug into the wall, it goes haywire. It flings George into the sliding door, and the door is like the door to their home. Right as Jane and Judy arrive home, what have they been doing? Women be shopping.
For hats.
Doesn't matter what era of sitcom it is, they are shopping.
And you weren't lying, Spencer. They even say hats, plural. I did not anticipate hats. I thought we got a hat.
Jane and Judy literally went out and spent an entire day buying hats.
Multiple
and
hats.
And that is
for
the
each
extent of the character building for Jane and Judy.
You know where they've been? A haberdashery. And they've come back to put on a fashion show with their hats. The new styles of hat include Moonscape, the Cosmonatress, Venus off the face, and the nuclear look, which is just really lazy and very clearly some sort of Cold War related name that feels funny now. That hat, by the way, is a child's mobile. Like it just
spins.
things dangle over Judy's head.
I guess kids like that. Like babies are real into that stuff. What do? Do they reach at them? I don't know shit about babies.
You know what they're doing all the time, these babies? It's pretty fucked up. Developing motor skills. They'll do it at your own expense. They'll grab your face, anything.
Babies do that thing where they just put shit in their mouths.
Yeah.
Like that's their instinctual
They'll
thing.
do anything.
Here's the thing, let me put it in my mouth. How did we evolve for that to be a trait? Because you would think like that would be a negative.
It is. Well, the thing about us is we're the only thing that's like a weird, dumb blank slate. Like we'll just die immediately.
Yeah.
Any other animal knows to do things, but we can be taught anything. That's how we've learned to destroy the earth.
Big brain.
Brain big.
Covered by hat.
George, because he's a man, is mad that women spent much on...
That's pretty much, that's
whatever.
fine.
But
women
you know what?
spend much
I'm not
on
saying
money.
anything else.
That does it.
I think everyone knows what I mean. The women are like, George, quit being a fuddy-duddy about this shit. Right then, they wonder where Grandpa is, and he slams into the side of their moon sky house or whatever, upside down, and he's laughing. He's always laughing. I think he's lost it.
Okay, is he George's grandfather, or is he George's dad, who they call Grandpa for the sake of the kid?
he's the kid's great-grandpa.
Yeah, he's
George's grandpa.
Okay.
I have a theory at the end of this that he's really not related to any of them at all. And that's one of my ideas for how this episode could have been good, or not what it is.
Well, I'm interested to hear that because it is very not good, as we've alluded to. Sucks. After Grandpa slams into the side of their dome, the Jetsons realize, this is not a docile old man after all.
And this is after George slammed into the side of his dome because of his head.
Yeah, that
Hanna
was
Barbera
good.
loves to have their main characters get bonked on the head.
It's high comedy.
Animated slapstick is the most boring thing ever.
And that's
Hanna-Barbera
mostly what
loves
they
it.
do.
Yeah.
It's because there's no repercussions in animation, so who cares? In live action, it's like, you can put yourself in those shoes or whatever, but if George Jetson bonks his head, who gives a shit?
Yeah, the other thing is this just reeks of let's run out the clock.
Yeah.
Like just stuff the runtime
for
with
sure.
animation.
And I guess that's just a cartoon thing, because I know we all grew up seeing this, but that thing where they're running, but it takes them a bit to get their feet going.
Yeah,
like
and a cloud of dust
it always
up
starts
behind them.
underneath them. It's I got like flashbacks, and not good ones, to my childhood of seeing that all the time, where the running is comedic because they don't move right away and then they shoot out there in that direction.
must have been funny to someone one time.
I guess people just liked that at that time.
I think that's the same as like they walk off a cliff and they're still there. They're like, I can stand here. But then they look down, they go, whoa.
It is.
Gravity waited for us to realize the problem that they had, and then it was like, okay, now it's going to work.
Tongue unfurling, eyeballs popping out, all this stuff.
It's a funny joke.
Hats.
In the living room, Judy doesn't have a hat on anymore. She's doing the swivel. It's the latest. It's the latest dance. She just says the latest, though, which is such a 60s thing to say.
It's also not anything.
And not 2060s. I mean 1960s. Grandpa walks in. He says, that dance sucks. You won't believe I can still eat more. We just ate. I could eat more. This is a big boasting point for Grandpa in this scene for some reason. He then puts on his anti-gravity button and starts screaming and dancing on the ceiling like a real Lionel Richie. He says, this is real dancing. and proceeds to tell us that he and Judy's grandmother, or great-grandmother, won the moon ball years ago. Wonder what that is.
You get a prize. You know what the prize is?
Moon?
Sprocket.
Oh, wow. Delivered by Spacely himself.
I don't think I want that.
What if it comes with 2 sprockets?
Well,
Wet or dry?
One's wet,
One of each?
dry. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Judy's actually impressed by Grandpa's dancing, and it's worn her out because Grandpa's too virile. Well, next conquest for Grandpa is to continue showing all the Jetsons how shitty and lazy they are. He goes to Elroy's room. Elroy's got a cool poster of Astro, his own dog, on the wall.
That is great.
This is a baller-ass move. I think it's cool. I want a poster of Koopa, my cat. It would rule.
I put it down here. I said I want to get a picture of Bean and Vladimir.
Yeah.
A professionally done photo, put it above the bed. Perfect.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like that detail. In fact, it was probably just lazy on the showrunner's part. What would Elroy like? His own pet. But I think it's pretty funny anyway. Elroy laments the fact that he has no one his own age to play with, but Grandpa says, I'm a big-time stud, and offers to play with Elroy instead, then asks a few follow-up questions.
Well, I'm available anyway. Now, what would you like to play?
Spaceball. See, I gotta stay in shape for the Little Dipper League, you know? I play left sky for the Space Cubs.
Good for you.
Left Sky.
Left Sky. Thought that was kind of funny, but this is a perfect example of what the show does to try and be the future. Takes whatever was going on in 1960, puts the word space onto the front of it, or back of it.
Why they use the Cubs as the team?
Well, because they already used the Bedrock Dodgers for the Flintstones.
That's true, they did.
Oh, yeah. I guess they did pick teams that, were venerable franchises, likely to stick around until 2060. Grandpa and Elroy then go outside into the sky to play baseball.
Spaceball.
Spaceball. Good catch, Spencer. Grandpa throws a bunch of, cool pitches by Elroy that do different movements, including the very questionably named Zigger Zagger.
I think that one's illegal.
Yeah. Then Grandpa goes ahead and gives Elroy an easy pitch, which Elroy crushes. Grandpa catches it himself by running through the house. Ugh.
It's for a while, though. He's hitting 95 on the gun.
Oh,
Why are
yeah.
you doing that with your 6-year-old fucking kid? Give him something to hit.
Fucking show him up, man.
Grandpa's being an asshole.
I know. Well, Grandpa's not done with that. It's time for George to get shown up. They're going bowling together.
Of the future.
Yeah, future bowling.
Bet everything's different.
I will say I did like the bowling alley layout.
The layout
It's
of
like
this,
a circle?
Yeah,
well, it's a circle where all the lanes end in the middle, and
that was awesome.
if you could fit the pen machines back, in there,
Yeah.
that's a cool design, legitimately. But futuristic it is not. All the bowling is the same.
Hasn't changed at all.
No.
Not one bit.
On the way to the bowling alley, George warns Grandpa. He says, listen, I'm the best at bowling, and bowling is really serious. But we know how this is going to end. They arrive at the Milky Way Bowling Center. George is bad at bowling. Grandpa gets 3 strikes across 3 lanes at the same time and says he's doing it to save time, which is clearly the point of any leisure activity.
I literally put in my notes, this way saves time. Yeah, because the one thing you want with your fun recreational activities is for them to be over sooner.
This is the listening to a podcast at 2 times speed of sports. At the Jetson house, George is tired from all this bowling, so he's, just beached out in that rocker he got for Grandpa, complaining to Jane about how much energy his grandfather has and how good he is at everything. Jane is not fazed by this and says this is all for show. He's trying to be a big, strong man. Judy and I will go sky skiing with him tomorrow, which is real, and another just quick, whoa, skiing, but it's outside in the sky. And that'll wear him out. It didn't. That's what happens with that.
No way.
Yeah, he doesn't get worn out. Back at home, the Jetson couple are again lamenting that Grandpa is just so full of life. When Astro comes in walking upright on his feet, he's a 6-foot-tall dog, licks George's face.
Astro could have been cute, but instead he's terrifying. I don't like how he talks and walks.
Bipedal, deep voice, Scooby-Doo type thing.
And usually I go right for the animals in these shows.
Yeah.
Astro didn't do it for me.
Well, he's scary.
Yeah, a
There's
little bit.
a degree of anthropomorphization that is...
Too much.
Yeah, and we've hit it here.
When he is looking like a regular dog and he's on all fours, he's perfectly cute. He's a nice little dog, but then too much of him is he's not a dog at all.
Can people understand him? Or is this like a Stewie on Family Guy
They all
thing?
seem to be able to understand.
Yeah, I feel like he actually just can sort of talk. He does this weird thing where he can't say all the words clearly, but I feel like, it is a Jetsons universe thing where it's like, yeah, our dogs can sort of talk.
And I'm not calling bullshit on that. Hey, that's at least a stab at something new in the future.
Sure.
I would have loved to have gotten the background on that when that became a thing and what technology. That would be great.
What experiment went wrong?
Let's hear about what collar you put on a dog where it's like you're getting approximate human speech now with
That
your
one
pet.
from Up. Made that dog talk. Do all dogs talk then, or is it just Astro?
Well, we will never know unless we can get an episode with other dogs in it.
I do know that all dogs go to heaven.
I did ask Katie, my girlfriend, about the dog question. Do all dogs talk? She said, I don't know, but she did somehow remember that Mr. Spacely has a dog, and it's like a bulldog. I couldn't find a clip to find out if he talked.
This is ringing a bell.
But yeah, no, when I pulled up the picture, I went, okay, I recognize that.
And it's like a mean-ass dog.
I think so.
I like that this random bit of knowledge was known to anyone.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Grandpa winds up driving Astro out to the Department of Asteroids Recreation Area. Asteroids, those are in space. Future. It looks like a cool Mario Forest level.
Yeah, I thought they did an okay job when they showed the aerial view of it. And then when you get on ground level, it's hideous. Like the
It's
rest
gross
of
there,
it's
but
like,
the aerial view is one of the more pleasant looking things in the show.
yeah, it looks like someone spent a second on it.
While playing Skyfetch, though, Grandpa flings the stick too far over the same billboard that cop was lurking behind earlier.
A cop needs to probably mix up his, I don't want to call it route because
His
it makes him
beat?
sound like it.
He's probably
needs
taking
to
naps back there.
do something
listening to, well, let's be honest, it's probably awful conservative talk radio. It could be sports stuff, though. You never know. But yeah, the stick bonks the cop on the head. The cop flies over and says, "What are you doing here with this massive dog?" Grandpa says, "I don't know." And the cop says, "Well, get his license renewed. This dog needs a new license." Okay. Well, on the way back home, Grandpa's thinking about this license when he runs into a woman named Celeste Schuyler. Again, space type name.
I guess Southern Bells still exist in the future.
Yeah, they do, because she is one. She's younger than Emily Scope, and she goes ahead and talks to Grandpa and gradually sputters out her story. Celeste and her husband want to go on a honeymoon finally, but they just can't find a babysitter. Naturally, Grandpa agrees to do this, to babysit her newborn without asking the Jetson family. What a fun thing to do on vacation.
I don't know how that Celeste decides you meet a 110-year-old man going about your business in a day and you're like, well, one thing led to another. Now he's babysitting for us.
Yeah.
Oh, look, an old man. Perhaps I'll ask him about childcare options.
I don't want anyone babysitting my kid where one of the big concerns is they'll die of natural causes during the babysitting.
So this begs to ask the question, in the 60s, the 1960s, were people more likely to leave their babies with strangers?
I guess that was the plot line. They thought, well, that's
What do you mean?
fine.
Yeah, like that fits along.
What do you
Strangers
mean the
just a friend.
1960s?
You know what I mean.
This is the 2060s.
Have you guys heard the working theory among some that a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet? Because that is what I think Celeste
I
Star,
think
is that her
so, too.
name? Just
Celeste Schuyler.
Celeste Schuyler. I think that's what she's thinking is this 110-year-old stranger is just a friend I haven't met yet.
Carl Jung came up with that one, right?
Yeah.
Like that was one of
probably.
his.
You know who else thinks that he's just a friend he hasn't met yet? The Grim Reaper.
And
He's
Bismarck,
hanging around. Yeah, and Bismarcky, who unfortunately they did meet, I think.
Oh yeah, he died.
No, I think Bismarcky, he's at the pearly gates.
Oh sure,
He's more than just a friend
Well,
with God.
can the Grim Reaper take you to the pearly gates, or is it just
maybe.
I don't think he's allowed up there anymore. He and Peter got into the whole thing.
It's the destination's guaranteed bad if you see the Grim Reaper. It's not like something
Yeah,
good's
'cause
going to happen afterwards.
for now, until Peter doesn't like reaping.
How's he feel about sewing?
Okay with
You
that.
can only reap what you sow, so there
Yeah.
could be a problem with that.
Another Carl Jung.
He was the great farmer.
After Grandpa agrees to babysitting duty, Celeste is very, very overcome with happiness, and she kisses Montague on the cheek, and he reacts to that.
Well, I don't know how to thank you.
There it is, guys. The famed boner noise.
Boing.
Which is what that is, right?
I think
it
so.
is.
Yeah. The whole scene was actually kind of skirting like around the idea that he might be interested in this much younger lady, but then it seemed to avoid that with him just immediately assuming, oh, you're going somewhere with your husband, and then recognizing that she really was looking for a babysitter. But it did harken back to that questionably kind of creepy narrative a little bit, that maybe he did have the hots for her.
Well, this is a little bit of a reveal, but when I was searching real Jetsons episodes, there's one from season 3 where he shows back up, Montague does, and I guess falls in love with a young woman.
Okay, so they wanted it to be there, I guess. And that's too bad, because that would not a good thing for his character overall if he's out there hoping to hook up with these young ladies. If he's just being a nice guy, whatever.
I should have been surprised, but what is this episode but a series of scenes that say to the viewer, Montague can bone. He knows how, he's good
I guess that's really, he might not know it, but that's really what he's going about trying to prove to everyone through all these scenes here.
It absolutely is.
Boing.
Thing is, though, his great-granddaughter Judy was driving by in her space car right when this happened. She saw the kiss, drives home and reports it to Jane. Everyone's confused. Later, Grandpa is making a phone call on the wall panel phone thing. He's trying to get a new dog license for Astro, but Jane and Judy hear it. They think he's trying to get a marriage license for him and Celeste, the much younger woman who he's babysitting for. Oh my, what confusion.
What a mix-up. One joke I did chuckle at, which of course becomes another joke here in a minute, is they think, of course, he's trying to get a marriage license. He's getting a dog license. The person on the phone on the other end, who we don't hear, asks him, is the dog dangerous? And so he says, oh, never bit no one. And so Judy and Jane hear that, and they think he's talking about his wife, saying she never bit anyone. There's a little something there.
Yeah, and that
Not a
comes
lot.
back later, too. That's nicely enough done for this show. It stands out in a field of corpses. Right then, the doorbell rings, and who should it be but Emily Scope from earlier? Jane answers, and because she hasn't seen Celeste Schuyler yet, she thinks Emily is actually the fake intended wife with child. She's not, though. That's Celeste. Emily says, well, if Montague should be around, I'll be at the Galaxy Hotel.
Bravo.
Thank you. Next up, Celeste FaceTimes in on the wall, and Judy answers, and Celeste says, will you pass on a message to Grandpa? I've decided we should take the baby on the honeymoon. Then she hangs up and Judy freaks out because she thinks Grandpa is going on this honeymoon as the baby's father.
And that there's a baby.
Yeah,
this
all according to them, they're thinking Grandpa is getting really busy and things are happening really fast.
He's virile at 110 years old.
Yeah.
There's semen shooting out of that thing and every which
And I
direction.
guess it makes a baby just happen right away.
Mhm.
There's no 9 month
future.
process.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
faster in the future.
Immediate.
28,000.
You won't believe the leaps we're making in that in the next 39 years. I know it's been 9 months forever, but we catch back up with Grandpa after he's acquired the new license for Astro. So that's good. He actually is helping the family out there.
Yeah, that seems like a really annoying thing that you wouldn't want to deal with. Like
Again, this is his
bureaucratic-wise.
vacation.
Sure.
Weird thing to do on a trip to visit your family.
Grandpa seems like one of those people who just can't enjoy himself unless he's really busy.
Well, what is a vacation for a 110-year-old man? It probably doesn't work, right? So I guess it's just a
Aaron,
visit.
He probably likes errands. He likes everything from what I can tell. Zippity-doo indeed.
Probably likes to go to Walmart early in the day at like 9 in the morning and then block entire aisles while spending inevitably 25 minutes of time to figure out which flavor of Doritos he wants when Van's there. Van just needs to get to the other end of the aisle, but they won't because they're old and they think they're the fucking center of the universe. So they just take up the entire goddamn area. So then Van...
I don't think we're talking about the Jetsons anymore.
No, we're not, because if Van gets frustrated and Van goes, okay, I'll go to the next aisle, go all the way around.
I've done
You do that, and by that time, they're fucking at the other end of the aisle.
I do this all the
blocking
time.
that end of the aisle.
Yeah, I do this so often. The freedom they feel to block with the carts, it's frustrating. I knew this was your personal story, though, from the beginning, because you did not say Space Walmart.
No, nothing about sprockets.
Well, and then you did mention yourself in the story. That was another giveaway.
And
where
he
you
didn't
said
say
van.
space before that either.
Space van. Yeah, if you'd said
Or
space
space me. The alternate version of you that just has a ring around your head
Yeah,
and
got
a
a
big
jetpack.
collar.
It wouldn't be very much different than the actual van, no. Like, based on what they do in the Jetsons, they wouldn't put a lot of effort into a space van.
No, just bigger collar.
He'd
That's the main
still
thing.
be pretty sad, I can tell you that.
Grandpa, he's got that Astro license. He goes over to Celeste. He's going to pick up her baby so the honeymoon can happen. But when he arrives, well, Celeste is in the other room. And she thinks that who she hears in the living room is a man there to pick up her luggage. Apparently, she just has a guy to do that. I don't know. So she simply calls out from the other room and says, yeah, go ahead, take it, whatever. Does not notice that Montague abducts her child.
Mm-hmm. Somehow, both sides were just casually involved in this.
Yeah, this is a real both
He's
sides.
thinking, I'm going to come pick up her kid. We don't need to really interact on my way out the door with her baby.
Now, this is normal. I bet I shouldn't double check or anything. Very, very weird.
No, you know what else he said? Zippity-doo-dah.
Well, that's
That's all he said.
He loves saying that shit. Well, after he's abducted the kid, Grandpa's headed back to his family's house whenever he gets pulled over again by the same cop. The flustered cop lets him go, though, because there's a baby in the car.
Well, I guess car seat laws are a lot more lax in the future. He's just got the baby sitting on the seat.
Loose infant.
I don't think you can use that. If you get pulled over for something, I got a baby with me.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've got to let him go.
I did see you murder 4 people, but yeah, and that's, yep, you got a baby. Go ahead.
2 seconds later, the space cop gets a call that there's been a stolen baby. Then he heads after Montague. At the Jetson house, the whole family is talking about this, what all's going on with Montague and his many loves, and the truth comes out. Grandpa unveils the truth about Astro's license, Celeste's honeymoon, everything else. Before Grandpa can return the baby, though, the doorbell rings, and once again, it's Emily Scope, and she's real horny for Grandpa.
Perhaps you've heard of my monkey trials.
Good. This clip is not important that we're about to hear, but the whole time I've wanted everyone to hear how Emily Scope sounds beyond my impersonation, so here you go.
Hi there, Mr. Jetson. Finally found you at home.
Well, now, nice to see you again, Mrs.
Scope. Emily Scope. Passing by, so I thought I'd try again.
Real pleased you did.
There's your baby. My baby? Oh, I haven't got any baby.
Well, that's a real subtle voice acting.
Oh, you're
here.
looking real fine here, Miss Scope.
Does Grandpa's voice remind you of anything at all? Like in terms of other voice actors or TV characters or anything?
Not off the top of my head, it just seems like an old man voice.
Yeah, I kind
But
of,
something's
I
there.
felt like I could, it's a little too high pitched, but I got a little bit of Grandpa Simpson in the way he speaks.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
a bit.
A little less, he's got a little more
No,
rasp
it's- yeah,
to
it's-
him.
it's
but
more high
yeah,
pitch.
it's there.
Makes you wonder if it's a thing people go to for old man voice.
Yeah.
Started by Montague Jefferson.
It was the style of the time.
Montague Jefferson.
Jefferson.
That would make this the Jeffersons.
Moving on up.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to say
seriously,
Sherman
up in the
Helmsley
sky.
Jetsons.
I can't be bothered to say any Hanna Barbera names correctly. What's that?
They don't deserve it.
No,
Barney
they don't.
Rumble was my favorite one from a long time ago.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
Not Mush Mouse.
The Jetsons are very confused by Emily Scope's role in this episode. So am I. Whenever Celeste runs in and grabs her baby, that cop from earlier, the only cop in Sky, follows, but Grandpa explains himself off screen, I guess, and whatever, that's resolved.
Well, the cop comes to grab Grandpa, and he literally grabs him. He hoists him and holds him in the air, and he's a tiny cop. And he has such a firm grasp on Grandpa's butt. He's like squeezing that boy good.
Handful of cakes. And I'll tell you what, the Grandpa is fine with it. He doesn't care. Fast forward to Grandpa explaining to George and Jane that, well, I'm not interested in women anymore. Not even Emily Scope, because the thing is, he was married for 80 years and it was good.
What a
and
liar.
He's ready to die.
We know that that's not true.
Yeah.
Based on what Van told us, he's
20 years
gonna
later.
marry someone young thing not that long after this.
They keep doing this thing where they're like, marriage at his age. All old people do that.
Yeah.
As soon as
That's
the spouse
all they
dies,
want to do,
They
man.
get married because they're so used to having a warm
It's
body.
what they've
there.
been doing, so why not keep doing it until they die?
Everyone says their goodbyes because Grandpa's visit is over now. It's come to an end. It was a very scandalous short one. He leaves and gets pulled over one more time by the same cop. The two of them have a brief exchange, and then the cop sends out a bulletin that shows just how far this odd couple has come.
Attention, all Sky Patrols. Be on the lookout for an elderly gentleman whizzing along in a white sport job. Do not, repeat, do not stop him. Not if you know what's good for you, that is.
Oh boy.
Sure is a cute old guy.
That makes you like the cop a
It
little
I'm
bit.
does.
telling you, he's perfectly likable.
He's
in that
developed
episode.
a very deep affection for Montague.
I was so confused as to what any of this was. The other episode we covered at least had, it's terrible, but it had a plot that started one direction and concluded.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
story nothing happened. Grandpa didn't really do anything bad. They just misunderstood him trying to help everyone. And then he said, "Oh, I've learned my lesson," and went home. I don't get it.
And there was no lesson. No one did anything wrong.
Nope.
There was no
So
antagonist.
a couple misunderstandings and Grandpa mostly just being real busy. They never delved into why Grandpa was being real active. I thought they were going to resolve that. I don't know. He's 110, but he just got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and he doesn't have 111's not going to happen. So he's trying to fool himself into thinking he can still do everything he used to do. Nothing like that was covered at all in this.
This didn't need to exist. This was as worthless an episode of TV as we've watched. Probably.
I would agree. I have a thought though, which
not
is
as
that
bad maybe, but just worthless.
Up there. I think that Grandpa should have just been an outright fugitive. That would have been much better if we had discovered at the end that he really was trying to abduct the baby, and maybe he'd always done that. Maybe he's not George's grandpa. He abducted George, and you'd have to add that was actually who raised George his whole life. And then he abducted George as a baby, and that's not even his biological grandfather. They could have ordered an on-demand paternity test, I would think, in the space age. So that is my idea. Let's make Grandpa a bad guy.
We found Grandpa's birth certificate in his luggage. It doesn't say Montague Jetson.
He brought it with him.
Montague Sky Star. Yeah, he brings all of his ID with him. His real ID.
And he's got like a black book with all the horrible things he's done.
Time to make another getaway, sonny.
And then the cop, what a cute old man. And then the police scanner goes off. A murderer has been spotted.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my God, I just let a murderer out.
I've been an accomplice all along. Cop develops a terrible drinking habit. Wife leaves him.
What if they had opened like a spare closet and Rosie was in there all disassembled and Grandpa had done it?
Or Elroy had started doing that.
Yeah.
And it was like he had inherited Grandpa's craziness and he's going to be a serial killer too. But wait, oh no, my paper tore. I sure wish there was a tool or something that I could use to solve this problem.
Is there
I don't
Even
think
if there is though, you'll be able to see the tape when you put the tape over it, and that'll ruin it. It's not worth taping if you can see the tape.
What would you use to fix that?
Probably spit and gum and maybe some
I
horse
wouldn't. I'd use
chew.
Scotch brand magic tape in the green plaid dispenser.
Oh shit! I better try that.
Only you can still see the tape though, right? When you put the tape on there and
That
tape
makes
over
sense.
the
It's
tear.
tape, right?
No.
Oh my
What?
God.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. You'll think it's just brand new. Unless you explicitly shove your fucking face down in it or run your hand against it, you won't even know there's tape there.
What color was the thing?
Green plaid dispenser.
Okay,
That's how.
green.
If you are at, let's see, the 5 and Dime, and you see tape, don't bother with any of this bullshit that's not green and plaid dispenser.
Might be red. Who knows?
What we're talking about is there's an ad for Scotch tape in this Jetsons episode, and it's great.
It's delightful.
The best part of the whole thing.
Mhm.
It really brings you back to the 60s.
They also have bumpers at various times where it says like, the Jetsons brought to you by.
And that would be our real commercials, which I wish we had but didn't. But alas, does anyone have anything else to say about A Visit for Grandpa?
I don't understand it. That's all I have to say.
I think my point to what you guys were saying would be that I think they started out with a plot of maybe the message could be that everybody thinks old people are worthless.
But
here's Grandpa, he has energy and all that. But then they abandoned that for this baby abduction plot.
For the misunderstanding, which I think they thought was going to be comedic hijinks.
I guess. It was
But
just weird.
It really is just Judy and Jane kind of think Grandpa's a piece of shit and he's out there doing horrible things. And that is what it veers into, is them investigating because think Grandpa's being a fucking creep when he's in town, which apparently he is. We learn later. But that they're investigating him. That takes over the episode. Resolving that he was just doing Grandpa stuff the whole time is the end of the episode. I want to see the outline for it, and I want to be in the room when they're all like this. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and
put the check mark on
Yeah.
that. We've got this sealed.
let's get the lines read and we'll wrap this thing up.
It's gold. Don't you mean space gold? That's what they said in the writer's room at Hanna Barbera.
Hannah, you're a genius.
Oh, you too, Barbera. We're going to be back next week because Spencer's making me talk about the Jetsons one more time. This one's going to be about Astro becoming a millionaire or something like that.
I guess that's what the title implies.
It does. But in the meantime, you can check us out on YouTube, where we have video versions of our podcasts. Now, they're not of us. It's just if you want to listen on YouTube. You can go to bootubeinc.com to see our written content. You can go to Patreon. It's free. You can pay us if you want, though. We have a lot of bonus episodes on there, and Van's been uploading some new ones recently, which are very funny. There's also, if you go to bootubeinc.com, you can click on a little button and join our Discord group and talk with us. You can follow me on Goodreads to see what books I'm reading, but there's breaking news. You can also follow me on Letterboxd to see what movies I'm watching, and maybe you can do that with TV, too. I need to see.
Could be.
Yeah. So that's all very exciting. I'm sure everyone's like, holy shit, right now that's listening to this.
They're scrambling to get out of their app to get to letterboxd.biz and do it all.
But as for us, we're going to be scrambling to get away from the Jetsons. So let's hop in our air cars and go.
Quarter bumper.
Just getting ready to say that.
What's a quarter bumper?
Record a bumper.
Oh, I think it's quarter bumper.
Do 1/4 of what you would normally do for a bumper.
And so now let's...
I think it...
I was so confused, and you both knew what I meant. I was like, I'm going to have to ask.
What the fuck have you guys been talking about this the whole time?